All right, it's that time again. Here is a little sneak preview of Soundminer version 7. I'm going to start off showing a lot of stuff that's in the Pro version. So there's going to be some Radium things, but there are things that are in the Plus as well. I'll try and note that when I can. If I forget, I'll put it in some sort of README afterwards. So let's go to Radium. And I'll just load a sound. And then, I forgot to define radium regions. And for those that don't know, normally what you would have to do is record the sound. And then I could hit like Shift R, and then I was like, oh, missed that one, so I'd have to do this, and then I'd have to do this, and then I'd hit R to capture that region, and then I can load. But that seems like a lot of work, right? So if I've just got a few, what I can do now is just click and drag on the timeline, and it will create a region for me. So I'll just do a couple here. We'll just do these three, and I'll skip one. And also the logic as far as like how it fades in has changed. So it's a little more accurate to be able to like tweak all these things after the fact. And then there it is doing its normal random round robin mode. There is now a mode to play them in sequential order. So when I do that, I'm going to play this one, then this one, then this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one. It doesn't matter what key I hit. It'll do them in order. You can also right-click and disable a region now, and that's just, it keeps the region definition if you want to save the patch and do all those kind of things, but it'll just skip over it now. And then I'll just re-enable it. And the other one, the other mode, is to play them in reverse sequential order. So this one, then this one, then this one. And if I find one I like, I can freeze at any point. I think that might be in 6.2. I'm not 100% sure. But now, that was the last region that I played. So we'll do that and just keep on playing over that one sound. There is also a new effect, and this is inside this rack as well as the main rack inside Soundminer. So this allows you, what I'll just do is just reset everything. I'll just crank the mix up and lower this a bit. So as you can already tell, it's pretty neat sounding compared to how it was. Here's the original. So it's essentially the grain engine that was inside Radium here, but as an effect. And you can do things like adjust, let me just change the density. The density is the number of particles inside the grain shifter. So if I hit this, you can see they're very small little grains. Crank it up. Now, if I increase the density, and you can also adjust the width. Normally what happens is each one of those grains will play out of whatever channel that they're being grabbed from. What width does is it sort of randomizes the positioning. So if you're wearing headphones, you'll hear that's a lot wider than that. And then jitter just does the timing of the particles, so I can get even crazier. And then this is fully mixed, of course, so this is fully wet. I can adjust the pitch. And then the mix, so amount of dry. And normally what happens is, depending on what the size is here, it's 88 milliseconds. You'll hear that the dry kind of needs to be delayed a little bit. It's hard to tell on this. Let me just get another sound in here. Oh, this will do. This is from...
I think it's lovely.
Great British Bake Off. So let me call up the effects rack here, and there's grain. I'll just turn it on. Now let's see.
I think it's lovely. 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 I think
So
it's lovely.
if I delay
I
it,
think it's lovely. I 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 think it's lovely.
so it becomes like a little bit of a cheap harmonizer, if you will. So that is, I think, the things that have happened inside Radium, shy of one other thing. Why don't I show that? It's one of the biggest requests that we've gotten about Radium is a way to sort of build weapons anything that sort of needs to be re-triggered and synchronized across all the slots. So you'll see up here now, there's a global emitter. So I'll just turn freeze off. Actually, no, I'll keep freeze on. There we go. So if I press and hold the emitter, there it's going. And on my MIDI controller, I think it's assigned. What I can do is target by hitting T, rate. And then if I use my MIDI controller, there we go. So I'm basically just turning a knob on my controller. So if I hit the emitter, I can now adjust the rate. And that's going to affect all the slots. And then, of course, you got jitter as well. So that's the amount of randomization that's going to add to it. So you can press and hold like this, or you can even set a note to listen to. Right now I've got it as middle C, it's just easy. But if you had a big white keyboard, you could set it to like C5 or some key that you're never going to hit. And then you say, use that MIDI note to trigger the global emitter. So that's now toggled on, which means if I hit that note, you'll see it triggers the emitter. So now I don't have to use the mouse. I can just use my MIDI keyboard. So let's get some guns in here, and this will sort of be a little bridge to something else that I'm going to show. So let's call up boom. Should go boom. Okay, we'll just load one sound in here. Oh, I normally have multiple screens up, but I'm not going to capture them. So we'll just load this. So there's our. It's that sound. I'm just going to move Radium off, just make it a little easier for me. There we go. We'll load this one into slot 2. And I'll just adjust these. And I won't hit middle C. So that's what we've got right now, is these two. Why don't I just pitch the sound way down? Okay, now I'll hit middle C, and you'll hear the emitter. And it's sort of random because of the amount of jitter that I have on. So if I turn the jitter off, and I'll just increase the release time a bit on this. So yeah, that's one of the biggest features that people have asked for, and there we are. It's inside Soundminer version 7. And that is all mappable as well in the macros. You can choose it as a global. So global emitter, rate. So now if I adjust it here, you'll see it move the rate over here. And then I can do things like adjust the skewing and the map, like how much of it controls. And let me just delete this. You can also, and close this down. You can also choose a modulator, any slot that you want. So I'll just choose LFO 1, for instance. And it can go to, there's the green engine, global emitter, we'll go rate. So now this is going. So from any one control, I could have perhaps the envelope. I could do a time-specific envelope. Why don't we do that? So I'll go timeline A. We'll choose timeline A. Of course, I need to be able to modify it. So what we want is for the LFO to start, not this LFO, sorry, the rate to start very low and then amp up over time. So we can, of course, make it faster. Of course, because it's a time-specific envelope, this is sort of re-triggering, so it doesn't really make sense, but you can get the idea. I can just use it like a basic emitter on it. That didn't work either, but it's got lots of experiments. Maybe note release, would that make sense? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure people will come up with like wild ways of automating this. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. But while I'm in there, the time specific envelope stuff, timeline A, can go to the new grain effect. Soon as a grain shifter, there we go. So you can, over time, maybe turn the freeze on. which would be kind of an interesting thing if I've got a different sound. Let me just go back to Matthias. Oh yeah, okay. So we'll load this. We'll just mute this. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's frozen that sound in time. Now if I really adjust some of these things off, the density. Weird. Anyway, again, fun sound design possibilities. Now, what else is in version 7? Well, this is going to be in the Plus version as well. I'm not going to go through the whole thing of how to build these things, but you'll see up here there's a new icon, and this will launch the Similarity engine. So without looking at any metadata at all, whatever I've got selected, it's going to find sounds that it thinks are similar. So the very first one in this list, this is the split similarity view, is going to be the one that I've selected. And what happens is the Similarity engine has gone through and identified little onsets, things that it thinks are interesting, and it's sort of done an inference to kind of come up with an embedding. And the fact that these are all green is showing me that these are all close enough in similarity, which makes sense because they're a sausage file. And if you listen to them, they're all quite similar. The yellow denotes that it's a seed sound right now. So everything that's coming back is based on that one sound. And I can either double click or command click on one of these and it will shift. And you can see the results change when I click on that. Ever so slightly because they are so similar. So we'll go back to this one. So this is obviously the sound. And when you click on a sound, it's going to play the most highest ranking similarity inside that file if it applies. So now we'll go to this one. So in this case, it thought that was pretty similar, but this one not so much. It's not bad, but it's just outside of the range essentially. Now it's looking at pitch and envelope and amplitude and duration and all these kind of things. It was a model that's been trained from scratch. Took about 6 months to get it all locked away, but here we are. And so yeah, you get the idea. Let's call up another sound, some borax sounds. So I've got this. I thought that was pretty close. That's close. We'll go to boom 1. Let's see what we can find in boom 1 here. Call up category. So we've got that, we've got this, which is obviously based on the description, a female doing some stuff. So that's all cool. And you can, load these things up into Radium as well. So if I select right here in the similarity thing and then click load, you can see it's loaded the female creature lip. So you can do all that. Now, the next step after this, of course, is similarities of similarities. And for that, there's a galaxy view. And if you roll over, there's this little icon here. This is just in the Pro version. It's pretty crazy. So hold on to your hats here. So if I click this, it's going to launch it. And then what it does is it finds similarities of similarities. So this list that was here, it then goes through and tries to find similarities of them. And then it maps them all into this like 3D space. I'm just going to lower the volume down here. Now, because this is sort of like still a tech preview, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't exposed in the main interface here. But it's just to give you an idea. So this is where I control the volume. See, I roll over. And thanks to suggestions from some users, it shows me what sounds I've played, just in a fading sort of black. And I've got it so that when I zoom in, I also get like rotary waveforms. So what this is doing is it's showing me each one of these as separate regions or separate items inside that similarity galaxy. So each one of those little dots would be, this would be one, this would be another, 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 and another. So here is your view, and you can, of course, just, what it's done is it's clustered those sounds into sort of like this. They're all similar in some regards, but there's going to be ones over here but they're all very similar. And how it got there, it's usually like a path. What happens is, when you're getting similarities of similarities, there might be one that's like, it's barely off there. So this is more like a discovery kind of view. It's a great way to just, instead of just hitting random in your Soundminer thing and bringing back random records, this is at least going to get you sounds that are in the same vein, that may work together. They're going to have the same duration. They're going to have the same sort of envelope, perhaps the same pitch. So let's go back to Matthias again, just to kind of show you, because I did say, what did I say in this one? I've been telling some people that Matthias' sounds were sort of instrumental in getting all of this stuff working. He was sort of like, what I would do is train a model, and then I would have a look and see how it performed. So I'm going to load this into the Galaxy. So here is the sounds. And it's what it's doing is it's caching them. When you see it grow out like that, it's caching them locally to the hard drive. And it does that for a number of reasons. One is for network storage, so that when you're rolling over all these things, you're not constantly pulling all of those sound files down. They are stored encrypted, and they get trashed as well. When you quit the application, there's like all kinds of rules as to what you do with the cache, like whether it quits on launch, whether it quits, like clears on quit, whether it clears when it reaches a certain level. That's all stuff that can be done inside the Galaxy settings here. So let's say you find some sounds that you like these. What I can do is, I'm on the Mac, so if I command drag over them, it will select them. Or I can command option and just draw like any sort of size that I want. And then there's a mode called honeycomb. So I can honeycomb my selection. And what this does is it centers them and brings everything into a honeycomb. And from here I can now listen. And if I find an odd one out that I don't like, I can hit I on my keyboard to ignore it. So you can build up all your little sounds like that. You can also do things like favorite them. So these are now, I've got favorite sounds, and these are my ignored. So I've got those three sounds are now favorited. This one, and this one. So what I'll do is in Radium now, I've got way too many slots, so I'm just going to mute some of these guys. That will do. I'll just clear this one and clear this one. So there is an option to choose a random item from the Galaxy. So if I just click that, it's going to just pick one at random. And what it's done, there's an option as well to grab the similarities within the sound file. And so what it's done is, if wherever it was similar, it's created Radium regions and it's loaded it in. So this is a similar sound, this is similar, similar, and similar. These other ones, not so much. But again, you can always just create ones if you wanted to. So let's delete that, disable. So you can pull it a random item, a random favorite. So this is going to be like one of the ones that I highlighted, one of the three. There's another one. And then, actually, I'll just get a few more. There's a random selection, something, whatever you're honeycombing at the moment, you'll randomly do that. And then you've got this option to fill all the empty slots. So let me clear, and I like this option on. Tim doesn't, but I do, called skip muted slots. So let's go back to our Galaxy view here. So this is all honeycombed at the moment. So these are all technically valid sounds. So now right click and go fill empty slots. There we go. It's now filled this slot, and this slot with entries from that Galaxy. So now if I play a sound, oh, got my emitter on. There we are. Wild. Now, there's a lot more to this. I don't know if I want to go too deeply into it. I can do things like double click and it will turn off the honeycomb. Just because things might change over time. There's all these options as far as like you can globally pitch. So why don't I just take this one? Actually, no. Okay, remember that one. So the audition pitch, crank it down. So that's just basically using the pitch shift. And there's options in here. A lot of these are going to get exposed. This is sort of my debug menu. So whether or not you actually transfer through that audition pitch or not, or if it's just audition pitch, you can reset it. You can also do things like time stretch. So time stretch, and so this is time. So if I wanted to make it longer, that one sound now. And if I wanted to pitch it down, but keep, still stretch it, that will do that. And there's options to use the time stretch on transfer as well. What else can you do that's kind of neat? All the different zoom in levels, randomize, a honeycomb. So if you go into an area, you can right click and say honeycomb all the nearby clips. So these are all honeycomb now. And then I can just use my arrow keys to sort of circle around. So that's right, left. Up will move me out a level. Other level. And you can spot sounds directly as well. Just going to hit a key command just so that turns off the hovering. And like playing back when you hover. And speaking of key commands, they're all in here, and you can all assign them all, everything that you want to do. So it's just another way of exploring your sounds and finding good things. And even if you find a sound like this, just turn it on again. I can load it into the player. So now back in Soundminer, that sound is now in my player. You can also, if you watch the similarities here, right now they're still showing this one from the large beast. So let's find something that's off. I'll shrink this down. So we can actually see the similarities change. Find something different. Okay, this one. So I can load it into the player and get the similarities. So you can see that the similarities have all changed now. And that's what it thought was similar. So this is it for now. Version 7. It's been a lot of work. There's still more things to be done. I think we'll probably open it up to people if they want to test it before it gets released. It will be a paid upgrade, but we're not quite sure on the price yet. We'll try to keep it reasonable like we usually do. And that's it. Thanks for watching.